Well, we're your panelists. Welcome to Once Upon a Time. I guess we'll start down the line and kind of introduce ourselves. And what I would like to do personally is kind of make this an interactive panel. So if anyone has any questions, if anyone has any theories, any ideas, you want to shoot them at us as the panel goes on, that's cool. So we're going to kind of go down the line and introduce ourselves and talk about like our favorite things, characters, episodes, whatever. So you kind of know who to address, or if you want to address the in particular, you guys will know. So.
Hi, I'm Margaret Parsons. I'm an actor, a mom, and I spend entirely too much time watching television. In terms of favorite characters, I am a grumpy and humble girl. And just to take it a step further, I am really lost with the good doctor. And extremely lost with them. I'm not vibing them yet, but I'm curious to see what other people have to say.
My name is Sam Morris. Currently I work, I actually manage video store, so I actually have to deal with a lot of pop culture questions all the time. I also am a contributor to Marvel Noise podcast, so I have a pretty wide range of comic books and all sorts of media-related stuff. My favorite, and partially because it's the costume we do on Sunday, is I'm going as Grumpy, and also my wife's going to be Nova, so you can get my favorite fairy character. Also, I'm a big fan of Pinocchio, and really, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about Charming, but I actually like the guy. So, and of course, I also really like Snow White.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Johnson. I actually run a podcast at Operation Once Upon a Time podcast called Operation Podcast, and I am a moderator on the ksite.com forums in the Once Upon a Time section. And as far as favorite characters, I have a wide range. My favorite characters are Nicholas One and Henry Mills. So the best of the good, and then I love Regina and I love Alexa. So I love the good of the good and the bad of the bad. So those are my favorites.
Okay. Hi, I'm Christy. My biggest thing is, do you want to know what I do for a living? I answer phones. It's really not exciting. My main thing is Rumbo. Like, so I can talk endlessly about Rumpelstiltskin, but also equally Mel, because she is my fierce biatch. Let's see. I can tell you pretty much anything you ever wanted to know or did not want to know about Skin Deep. And my other favorite character is Jefferson.
Okay, hi, I'm Alex, and well, I can't say I make a living at it or it's my job, but I do act and write and many other things. Do film and television studies. I really like most of the characters on the show, and I'm willing to talk about most of that. But particularly Rumpelstiltskin, Grumpy, especially with his relationship with Nova, Ruby or Red Riding Hood, and Emma Swan. So, maybe to direct any of those questions.
Okay. All right. So that's us. So I guess we'll just start. We have some discussion topics here. I mean, we're gonna just let the question and answer things flow freely, but let's start with our number one discussion topic here at the top. It's called "Babe, where the hell are you?"
Now, I'm so sorry for being rude. Could you please speak louder?
Please.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, how's this? All right, let's try that again. Babe, where the hell are you?
You gotta get close, this far away from the mic.
He's in the house with Carl, but Carl's never in the house.
Never in the house.
Thoughts, feelings?
Yeah, I was going to say, I personally think that he came to our world when he went with the magic bean, wherever he got that. So I don't know, I've heard a say that they think he came to our world, that maybe he's Henry's father, which is the theory that I like. Some people I've even seen on the forums think that maybe he somehow has a connection to Peter Pan, maybe he went to Neverland and never grew up. So there's a lot of theories that I think are embedded in this story, which I think, there's a lot to that because we don't know where he went, and he could have gone anywhere. But my personal opinion is that he somehow came to our world.
Well, I agree with you. I think he's here, and I think that's why Rumple crafted the curse the way he did, to bring him as close to Bay as he could. And I've seen the Peter Pan stuff, and there's also a group that are taking it the next step further and going in a Hook-like direction. And Peter has gone to Neverland, grown up, and become the pirate and the bad guy. And I read their Henry's father.
I've actually been operating a theory that he got to our world a lot earlier than everyone else did. So I have a theory that he actually became Jacob Grimm.
I've never heard that before.
He's been around. Rumple's stories much before everybody else's. So that's kind of, but with time being bizarre for everyone, who knows when he showed up. But the idea is, I think I hate to say it, I don't think we're ever going to see him.
Oh, we've been promised.
Yeah, they promised they're going to tie up
They promise they're going to tie it up, but see, that's the key. Is like they could be really cryptic. How they could? I mean, the thing is, he could be Walt Disney for all we know.
So, do you think he wrote the book?
That's what I was thinking. But there's some stories he wouldn't know. But the book, I think, would make sense for him to write it. I'm certain he's not in storybook. He has no idea what the story.
Okay, see, here's my problem with that, is that he's definitely in our world, because number one, Neverland doesn't fit the bill. He wanted a land without magic, and Neverland doesn't fit the bill. So he's here. But, I don't know. Like, the whole thing, they were frozen in time. Here's my theory. They were frozen in time from about 1983, which would be about when Emma was born. And that's why everything in Storybrooke is so, like, old-fashioned. And they've got a few things. They've got laptops and stuff, but all their cars, their telephones, yeah, everything. My dad's actually a car fanatic, and he restores classic cars. And I asked him to date some of their vehicles for me, all late 70s, early to mid 80s. So, and that includes the Caddy, and even August's bike, he said, is probably a newer bike that they made to look older. So, I think that if they did get here and they froze in about 1983 for us, for 28 years, that I feel like Rumple would have made it so that the curse would actually break around the same time that Bay came through, so that he wouldn't have be aged 28 years, because then he loses 28 years of his son's life, and he wouldn't want that. So he'd still be, 14 or whatever. So, I mean, that's my theory, kind of.
I pretty much am going here that he's somehow going to end up in our world. I'm not quite sure how, but I think we'll see.
They did cast Michael Raymond James as some mysterious character that we don't know.
We have a question.
Yes.
Well, the only question about the child still being 14 is that Rumple thought August was the right age to be his son.
That's true. He wasn't sure. And when Archie says, like, how old is he? He's like,
Right.
let's start with something easier.
Right.
So he just doesn't.
Even still, if he were 28 years older and he was 14, so that doesn't. So Rumple's definitely played some games with the time.
Right.
And that's part of what I'm really struggling with as a watcher is, okay, if Cora is the miller's daughter and Regina is the child he was cheated of, that means his story starts anywhere from 20 to 30 years prior to us meeting Regina.
Right.
And so the time shifting, it's wonderful and it's fun, but it's really hard to wrap your head around sometimes.
Right, and he even says to August, when he thought that he was Bay for a little bit, he says, like, ever since you crossed the barriers of time and space. So he knows that something's up with the time. And I think that it's such a throwaway line, but I think it's very important, because knows? He doesn't even seem to know if his son's an adult or not. So, yeah. I assume, though, by going by his personality, he doesn't want his son to be an adult.
Yeah. But that goes on to him now having magic.
Right.
Now that magic's back, he'll be able to, he'll be able to cast a spell to find him. And I think that's really been part of that. It wasn't just, oh, I can torment everybody. And he's learned he needs that. He's been waiting for that magic to work.
Well, and now I can leave Storybrooke, so if Bay is out there somewhere outside of Storybrooke, he can leave.
Can they leave Storybrooke?
Oh, I think
We
so.
don't know.
One in the back and then one in the front.
Okay, one of my things about that is that one of the earlier episodes, he doesn't ask about Bay at all when he's talking to Regina, and he says anything I ask if I say please in this world. There's no hint of the story, and that kind of in a way disturbs me about maybe Bay, because maybe we haven't seen what happened to Bay. Maybe that's something he holds against Regina.
Well, but they left because.
Yeah, my thing is that Regina is his utmost enemy and the person almost as powerful as him. He doesn't want her, of all people, to know that he has this weakness. I mean, look what happened to Belle. So I don't think he would ever even let on to her that he has a son or that he ever had a son. And I think that she has no clue.
Well, no, his real enemy, though, is the Blue Fairy.
That chick. I got problems with that chick.
You got problems.
Let's get to her in just a second. Somebody's got a question.
Okay, well, I actually was wondering about that because you said the magic is back, and this is something that you know about coming for season 2. What I'm wondering about that is, do you think that's only going to apply in Storybrooke? And if so, what happens if characters who have magic in these Storybrooke go into the rest of the world? Assuming they can.
Well, the one rule, though, they keep saying is all magic comes with a price. So what's the price of this, basically magic being brought into this world? There is going to be some kind of price if you use it, too. So, I mean, it's not just, the price they bring it was he had to make all those deals with Snow White and Charming to get that, that true love potion of water. But the question then becomes is, what are the consequences of it being there? And, how much power can they use even?
This is my opinion, so mull over it as you will. But as I was watching the series, I felt like he didn't know the price of his magic or what his magic was capable of doing. Because the way he got the powers, they were never really explained. He was never taught how to use anything. So when he does use it, he's doing all these things that are dark and mysterious. But I honestly where's Bay? I don't think he knows. I don't think he has any clue. He might have cast a spell, but he's not sure, the limitations or the reach of it. I mean, look at Storybrooke. He was like, oh, I set it up so that Emma would break the spell. But, did she break everything? They don't remember anything. So
Yeah.
it's almost like he doesn't know what.
Like he's got a range. He has, it's like, for lack of better, Bryce is right. You have the range finder. So I'm in the ballpark. I'm going to find him. I just don't know exactly where or what age.
Well, in the pilot, they say that he can see the future. So I've kind of held on to that for a long time because I don't know how far in the future he can see. So I don't know. I kind of personally think that Rumpelstiltskin has, he's a man with a plan. He has deals that he makes, and he has things set up and contracts. He has, some deal with Emma that he's going to come back on at some point.
Yeah,
so,
she still owes him that favor.
She still owes him a favor. And so I don't know. I personally think that if he can see the future, then he can see the future. So I don't know.
See, I don't know if he can, though, because, again, Belle, how do you know that this chick is not lying to you? Or is lying to you? But, I don't know if maybe all right, so he spent hundreds of years, making sure that everyone thought that he had this mysticism about him. Everything's about the look, the act. So, he trolls everyone purposely. So I don't know, can he really see the future? Because I feel like that would have saved him a lot of trouble if he really could. It could be something that they just think of him. Oh, word on the street is that this guy can see the future. You don't want to mess with him. But then
He was trapped, too. We should remember, they had him trapped. And they had, whether or not he was actually allowing himself to be trapped in that prison, we don't know. But the fact of the matter is, he seemed shocked when they had him in there. But he was enjoying the will he still had while he was there. So I think his powers aren't that great, but that's the point. He's been kind of figuring out ways how to use his powers where he can. It's like there's a realm of how much he can do.
We've got one in the back and then this gentleman.
My question about his purple, I'm not even sure if it's really a curse bringing magic back. I'm not sure if that qualifies as a curse. My question is the timing. If Emma had not have broken the curse so that Charming and Snow knew each other and loved each other, would his true love potion still have worked? Like if he walked there and Emma never kissed Henry and there was no curse breaking, do you think that liquid from the egg would have worked?
I'll say I don't think the writers would have put that much effort into it, in all honesty. However, at the same time, he created that potion before the curse even went into effect, so that's, he'd been planning to use it regardless, because that was he needed to make sure he'd get power eventually, so I'm under the impression he just assumed it was going to work anyway. But I think that's just also, he'd been planning and manipulating to get to these certain steps. The only thing that threw him off was Belle showing up. Because I think he pretty much knew all of this is working the way he was supposed to. He really doesn't care about Henry though. That's clear. But the fact of the matter is, I think he realized everything's going the motion he needs it to go.
So, as far as in the, basically, foresight, I think that there's also the potential that he might not see everything that the future holds in front of him. There's potential that he just gets glimpses into the future of important events that allow him to plan around it, compared to every single thing that happens. So there are a lot of variations with how that could actually go and the way that they can play that.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll really know for sure unless they come out and say it.
Well, I was just going to address the issue of Charming and Snow loving each other. They already did start to love each other in Storybrooke, even though they didn't know who they were. So I personally, even before Emma broke the curse, I think there were some things that were coming out of those characters, even though they didn't know who they were, like Snow, when she, kind of got, kicked butt with Jefferson, kicked him out of the window. That was Snow White coming out of her. So I think there were some things that progressively, with Emma's, appearance as Storybrooke, I think I don't know, but I would think that eventually it would start to kind of come out. But that's my opinion.
While we're talking about Snow and Charming, I don't know if anybody else had this issue. I love Charming, but I thought that Jake was a little on the witch side. Amen.
He was terrible.
He is, but that's because of the curse. The curse took the ultimate Prince Charming, who is heroic and brave and loving and romantic, and turned him on his ear and made him the most annoying jackass.
However, remember, he's in the same boat as Jefferson. Some of those memories are working at the same time, so his mind is a mess. And he was in a coma for 28 years, and he was badly, wounded right before the spell hit. So part of this is it just never really worked the way it was supposed to on him, and that's why. Same bit with the Huntsman. Think about it. Everybody, he was a mess too. Because once you get those memories working, it really throws your whole mind.
Yeah, they were like, "You're feverish. Go home." And he's like, "No, I'm both." And they're like, "No."
And that was the pattern. Each time a character began to become self-aware, bad things happen.
Right.
So, is that Emma? Is Emma the catalyst, or is Regina losing her grip?
Yeah, I think Emma weakened the curse, just her being there.
Well, that's when the clock started.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole question of Henry outside of time, because if no one else is aged, how does Henry get to be 14? But then he wasn't born.
He wasn't affected by the curse.
No, he wasn't cursed.
And
He was born in Phoenix.
He's born in this world.
Right.
So, again, the timeline. I could sit for hours and just not.
See, I watch a lot of Star Trek, so I'm like, time. Shh.
When Jefferson was introduced, it looked like it just went. Well, Regina left him in Wonderland, but he ended up here in the real world with fairy tale characters, do you think that he got back to the fairy tale things? They actually brought a character from Wonderland here. And so where's the Red Queen?
Well, I think she's probably there. We haven't seen her yet because we don't know who she is. But I thought it was interesting that Jefferson wasn't necessarily with the rest of them. He was kind of on the outskirts in the big house. Like, Emma had to drive a ways to get to his house. So I don't know, I kind of figured that that was maybe the Wonderland aspect of where sort of, in the geography.
We've got one in front and then the lady.
You know, and on the subject of the Red Queen, my husband has this marvelous theory that I'm actually kind of coming around to. The Red Queen is Regina's mother.
I think that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Could you say it louder?
What?
The Red Queen might be Regina's mom or Cora.
Might be Cora because, as someone else pointed out to me earlier, Regina's line is, "I know her and I know her
she has a name
well." When Regina goes to find her in Wonderland and it's Queen Regina, the Red Queen has bits. You know,
she's also the Queen of Hearts, which I think is very
and she knew to take Regina's father.
Her ball looks exactly like Regina's.
Yeah.
It's too obvious. I can't look behind her.
I definitely see that and think it's very possible.
Isn't Cora also mean heart?
Corazon.
Corazon.
That can be code.
I was just wondering, with the first being broken and magic being brought back, do you think that Pinocchio will come back to life?
Hope so.
Yeah, he's evidently slated to be in it, but I don't know whether he's going to be a wooden man or if he's going to be fixed. All the jokes, like I can't even, like. But
He might be human with a nose that'll keep growing. I mean, the sad part is the fairies can control him, so it's what if they get their powers back, it's their decision to turn him back to human. So.
see, that's a good point also, since magic is predictable in our world.
Oh, no, it's unpredictable.
Or that's what I meant, unpredictable. Since it's unpredictable, and the fairies don't have, let's say, their wands. Like, okay, for example, like, you know how in Harry Potter, like, they can't really do a lot of stuff without their wand as their like, conduit, right. I feel like maybe it's the same with the fairies. They all have their wands. I feel like that's an important part of them. That's why Rumpel took one, exactly. So,
fairy dust as well. That's another thing. You have to factor in fairy dust, which that's going to be hard for them to get their hands on.
Exactly.
That's a lot of money for the dwarves.
And so with it being unpredictable, with them not even having their conduit, if you will, because who knows where their wands are, will they even be able to do anything at first? Or is that where Rumpel's like, haha, screw you guys?
Well, which leads us to one of the other points that you brought up, is who gets to wield magic in Storybrooke? Who owns it? Who controls it? And as Tom said, what's their price?
I mean, Jefferson's hat's going to work probably, but at the same time, will Ruby become a wolf again? I mean, it's like, are we going to have werewolves running around? We're going to have all these. I still love Grumpy's great line. Red, you got a little someone on your chin.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Let's go here and then here.
No, the pink girl.
A thought just occurred to me when it was mentioned that Rumpel was one of the fairies' wands. Something tells me that there may be a conflict between, because if we remember, it wasn't Rumpelstiltskin who made Faye go away. It was the blue fairy who gave Faye the ability to go to another realm. So something tells me that there may be some sort of conflict, and that maybe taking the wand has some foreshadowing of something happening of like a master plan.
He's always threatening to foreclose on the convent.
He has his reasons, though. I mean, it's clear. Now, here's a question: who here likes the blue fairy? All right.
Give her a real costume.
With flotation devices.
She's such a wild card though, because they say in the Return that she's more powerful than Rumpelstiltskin. So
Yeah, the oldest power.
yeah. So I'm no like big fan of the Blue Fairy. I don't think she's like evil or anything, because she's done good. She helped Jiminy Cricket. She helped Cinderella. She's done all these good things. But I am really interested to see if there is magic back in Storybrooke, if she can wield it, what does she do with that? Because if she's more powerful than the dark one, that could be.
Okay, hang on. I gotta interject. Christy theory time. I don't know that the blue fairy is really as great as she thinks she's cracked up to be, because basically, who's to say all the people that she has made and her little deals with, all the people she's helped. Geppetto, she gave him a son, and she's like, oh, this is out of the kindness of my heart. Except she knew he had the touch to work with the enchanted wood, and so that's why she went to him to build the wardrobe. Now, could it be that the blue fairy only works with people that she thinks can help her out maybe in the future? Because you're the most powerful being in the world. The ogre's war is going on. Children are in trenches wishing to you, and you don't stop the ogre's war?
She's chaotic neutral.
I mean, I'm like, and then a father just loses his son, and you come floating down, and you're like, ha 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 ha.
Well,
You know?
we have someone who's been waiting a really long time.
I was just going to say, you had mentioned Jefferson's hat, but does that mean all of his hats? You know, she's not
Well, it's just one hat. That's the key. Is like, I mean, I think it's the same. Like, you can't be building hats. None of the other hats work. There's just one magic hat.
Yeah, that was hat, the nose hat, but what's that was in Storybrooke where there wasn't a hat. But now that that's back in Storybrooke, does that mean that all of these hats are now back? You know, when you have
All right, you've had your hand up for a minute.
So as far as the power struggles go, I think that's actually a really interesting topic. And I think that might actually be something where Rumpelstiltskin might have eclipsed her on power. Simply because you look at his store, you look at his pawn shop, and you look at what he has amassed.
I love the pawn shop. Yeah. Oh, I love the pawn shop.
So it's the ultimate Easter egg concept.
He has almost all of the magical relics from the old world, and nobody knew that they were selling them to him.
Yeah, if you freeze frame, just freeze frame and look. It's so much fun, and it's hard because the shots are really short.
Well, and that's also big foreshadowing, because they foreshadowed Geppetto's parents a while before. In the Cinderella episode, they showed the dolls in the shop, and that happened the next episode. And then they foreshadowed Belle's tea set.
And the spinning wheel is there.
Yeah, the spinning wheel. I think there's even a pirate ship in there. But so that's what I've always been looking. Every time they show the pawn shop, I think what there was even Aladdin's lamp was in there too before the genie showed up. So just
Which raises a whole realm of possibilities for Sydney.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
if the lamp's still there.
I don't think we're going to see Sydney at all this season, except maybe, because the actor's on Revolution, so unless Revolution gets canceled pretty quick.
Well, he did say they do work with people's schedules a lot, and Giancarlo Esposito says that he loves working on Once Upon a Time. He watches it with his children, and he does want to be back on it. So I have hopes, but he's actually locked up in the asylum. So.
You had your hand up first.
I'm a big fan of Lost, and I love that the writers are former Lost writers, and I'm really enjoying all the random Lost Easter eggs. It's too much of Easter eggs. And I just wondered if anybody else was a Lost fan.
I'm a huge Lost fan. Did you notice the ocean at 8:15 that flew over Pinocchio? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. You know, it's interesting that Mary Margaret could afford McCutcheon whiskey, because that was very expensive for Desmond. So she makes a pretty good teacher salary, I think.
Oh yeah.
In the black cap over here has been waiting long.
Back to like the blue fairy, you say like, why did she help me? Why did she do this? Like, back to how she's more powerful than apparently. I think like, it makes me like people watch like religion, like how God is saying people talk about this do this, that maybe she is the kind of God or something.
It's possible, or their version of God.
Like limitations, like
Although it's interesting to me actually. We don't know how their belief system works in the Enchanted Forest, but in several episodes people have said like, oh my gods, or they've said plural, like gods plural. So we don't know what their belief system is. So it's very interesting.
And in most mythologies and most theories, there's a balance in magic. And so perhaps it's not that the blue fairy is more powerful. She may be older. She may be an older power, but they may be in balance. You have most of the theories are that you have to have the evil to balance the good, and the good to balance the evil. And you've been waiting a long time for that.
I'm a really big fan of classic literature and all through, and I keep noticing with the Blue Fairy specifically, parallels back to C.S. Lewis with the Round Table and old power. That, but also, forgive me for this, but more recently with Dumbledore. The Blue Fairy is acting not so much as neutral, but what she believes is the greater good. Now, whether it's good for the person who's going through it, that's a whole nother matter. She believes that she's doing good, and so that's why, as you brought out, she later on knows that he's worked with the enchanted wood before, so she goes to him with the tree trunk. She does what she believes is best. She sees that, and she tries to help Bay. Now, was that good for Rumple? No.
Well, Rumple didn't go with Bay. That's his fault.
To
be honest,
That's
he was
his
being a
fault.
coward there.
Wasn't that her
And she
speech?
got to be released from his personal curse.
Right, because if he left for a land where there was
She
magic,
wanted to
she could
decrease
release
him
him from the
because that
dark
would
power.
have
But we don't know if she was doing that for his and Bay's benefit or because she wanted to be rid of the Dark One. She loathed to act.
Well,
that.
in nature, of course, vacuum, there would be
Someone
a
would
dark
take
one.
your mantle eventually. But I would like to say, I almost think the writers wanted to throw jokes at True Blood because, you know, fairies and True Blood and fairies and Once Upon a Time both, you can't really trust either of them. So I'd say everything we're going to find with the fairies is going to be something they're going to carefully mine. They're not going to throw it all at once because I think they do want to stick to mostly the same structure, which is we get one character of the week where we get kind of their story. Which, you know, fortunately, I think they're going to take advantage of as many of these available characters as possible. Because, you know, we talked about before, the show is may have been inspired by the comic Fables, which is a very similar premise where you have in the comic, all these fairy tale and nursery rhyme characters, all these fictional characters are stuck in New York City, not by a curse, but because we, as children, believed in them, that kind of magic sort of created them, so they're kind of stuck here.
I think they've also really paid homage to Into the Woods as well.
Yes.
And you've been very patient. I'm sorry, you had a comment earlier?
Oh, yeah. I'm curious about Grin, because there's so much overlap. Are they a foe or an ally? How many people like Grin as well? And how many people hate Grin? Or
How many people say it depends on the week?
Sometimes they got the exact same.
Yes. Or they've been a week apart sometimes. Well, and we've got the monsters, but we don't necessarily have the story with Grin.
Yeah.
So
it's more detective. It's more of the police show, and that's actually kind of similar to Fables as well, and it tends to be more investigative. Yes, you in the back.
It's a police story that has horrible police procedure. What kind of cop gets away with breaking and entering at random just because he has a hunch?
Well, once again, this is the once upon a time.
But I mean, seriously, in 8 episodes, your partner is still going with your hunches and not. It takes seeing a werewolf morph in front of him to question.
Well, I personally think that I assume that most people that come to DragonCon are big sci-fi, fantasy type people. So I personally think that any time that there's a show that succeeds on network television that is of that sci-fi fantasy genre, that's a good thing. And you know, the fact that it got renewed, Once Upon a Time got renewed, I personally think that's a good thing. And I haven't actually watched all of them, but I know that they're different. And so it appeals to different people, different genres, you like different things. So I think it's personally a good thing that they both exist.
And the ratings are showing that the fans want to watch both shows. I mean, both shows are hits on both networks. So, and they're not even against each other. They got separate nights.
Okay, we're going to have to move this away from the room. Okay.
Wrong track.
Wrong track. Just real quick, just to move on topics so that we cover some more of this. One of our other discussion topics is True Love. Basically, from what we've seen, everyone has, well, maybe not everyone, but people that are lucky have that one true love. However, what does this mean? How many true loves can you actually have? How many times can you love? Did Red eat hers? That would be really sad. And so I think that is something that is worth discussing. the nature of love in the enchanted forest.
I was actually, maybe Alex hasn't had a chance to chime in, and I know that the Grumpy Nova is one of your favorites in Rumble Bell in terms of.
Well, I'm probably more on Grumpy and Nova. I think that, you know, I personally am a huge fan of that story, especially because of Grumpy in particular. You know, he's grumpy, but he's droopy. And he had this, you know, so basically they were both put into these lives that they didn't want to be typecast, and even though Grumpy knows he can't be with her, and even in, you know, Storybrooke, before the spell broke, he knew he couldn't really be with her. He still cared about Nova, or, you know, her equivalent, and you know, yeah, Astrid, thank you, and was willing, you know, to take out a power line, buy all the candles themselves, do whatever it took to make sure she had a roof over her head and just make sure she was happy. And I think that's really true love right there.
Without expecting anything in return.
Right. She was unavailable both times.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, out of curiosity, you know, that episode's dreamy. Is there one thing that's, I mean, for me, that's my favorite episode. Where's everybody on the scale? Like, I mean, like, favorite couple, are we talking? I mean, Nova and Grumpy have only been in one episode together, but I mean, it seems like more people are on that team more than they are anybody else.
Oh no, Rumble.
How many of you watched the beginning of that and went, eggs? Really?
It was, for me, it was more like fully grown and clothed.
Full beards too, full beards.
I posted, I mean, before the first commercial, you know, before the next break, it's like, the shark has left the ocean, man. And then they pulled me back.
Well, it makes sense because they said, you know, where did the dwarfs come from? There are no.
Where are the eggs coming from?
There are no female dwarfs.
Yes.
So if you don't have female dwarfs, how do they? Well,
but what lays the egg?
Yeah, well, that's a question. Now that the man discovering a bunch of giant eggs underneath the Storybrooke. I mean, who's gonna find that? That's gonna be a little weird.
Now that we're talking about love and relationships, what do you think about same-sex relationships in as bad as Once Upon a Time? So that's gonna happen?
Well, it's a Disney-owned property, so I doubt it, and that doesn't mean I wouldn't love to see it. I would love to see it as long as it's canon and the characters don't loathe each other. I'm looking at you, Swan Queen people. I mean, I would love to see that, but it's a Disney property and it's a family show, so I don't know.
I mean, Disney, however, has got a pretty good history of trying to be pro, but at the same time, it's also on at 8 p.m. and sponsors are very, very picky about these things.
Well, and I think we as a community, people automatically jump to the whole sex part of same-sex relationships. It can be done in such a way that it's family friendly and nobody, you know, it's the relationship, not the sex.
Right.
And it's just finding the right characters, I think, is going to be the struggle, because the nature of the fairy tale is that you're paired. So, yes, sorry.
But just on that note, I think one of the probably most popular scripted shows on ABC is Modern Family, so just the other side of it.
I think it's important that if you do something like that, you really make the audience care about the character.
Yeah.
Because that's important, because if you address something like that may cause a rift between people, as long as you make those characters somebody that you care about, people forget all about that kind of stuff.
You have to make them authentic.
Yes.
For me, reason why they should be destined to be together?
Well, personally, I think it has been defined because it actually has been redefined because when Emma kissed Henry, that was the first time I'd ever seen something that was true love that was not romantic. And I thought that was brilliant.
Yes,
and it was
the state of
fraternal.
parental love.
Yeah, and that she came to that from a state of, I've forgotten about this, I put it out of my mind.
I didn't want it.
I didn't want it. I gave it up.
Right.
I don't deserve it.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because I started thinking, well, what if Regina had kissed him? Would that have worked as well? And I think for me, I personally pulled from that it had to be mutual love. Like the two people involved in that kiss had to truly love each other. So personally, I don't think Regina kissing Henry would have looked.
I don't think she truly loves him.
No,
I mean, because she doesn't say it. She's said it too many times.
Yeah.
For one thing, when you say it over and over again,
Well,
you're
and Emma
convincing
caught her in a
yourself.
lie in the pilot. So.
That's one of my things with it about her not truly loving Henry. She's using him as a substitute for her father. I mean, that's why she named him that.
Well, I mean that's less of a substitute as much as I think it's just she's never gotten over any of her issues. I mean, in all honesty, when we saw her before all this happened, when we saw her, I mean, she's the product of basically her mother turning her into a monster. And it's fair to say this. And I'd say there is a chance for, I mean, that nightmare she has where they're basically tying her to the tree when it burns. Hers like, I just wanted to win. And you're thinking, everybody wants, she said, but we all want to win. Problem is it's backwards in her mind. She technically won already. She got them in this, she's got like 28 years of victory. The problem is it's the same with her mother as well. It's never going to be enough. She's got to be queen. She's got to have total domination. She's got to have all this power. It's like there's this vacuum that she can't fill. And yeah, there is no ever after for her, basically. And I would also say, though, that the more we find out about Regina as well and her life, I think we're not going to despise her as much because there is something. It's kind of like the Darth Vader bit. There is a good person in her. It's just been so badly buried. Yes.
I think there is one other example of that same love that Emma showed Henry, and that was when Charming put Emma in the bureau.
Yeah, because that part's really interesting because they go from Charming being like, this is stupid, we shouldn't listen to Rumpelstiltskin, this is never going to work, to find us and believing and putting her in there and kissing her. And I think that goes to show they wanted to give her best chance, and then she wanted to give Henry his best chance, and unfortunately that didn't work out so well. But and it goes back to, I don't think, because Cora was so horrible, I don't think Regina knows how to love anybody.
We need to get in the purple hoodies. Yeah. We need to long
but I think that Regina knows how to love, and even though it's a twisted sense of love that she has for Henry, she still loves her. Difference is, Henry doesn't love her. He cares for her. And he cares for her because he told her, like when she came to school, he said, shit's about to get real. You better stop this, and my mother's gonna kick your ass. Right? Like he says, Emma is my mother. Deal with it, all right? And he will run to her. And so while he cares for Regina, he's lost a lot of respect for her after all the stuff that she has done in the book and what she's doing still.
Right. All these characters are also flawed, though. I mean, think about Jiminy Cricket. I mean, they've all made mistakes. I think that's the other factor. That's why the stories are so interesting. They've not just led the perfectly good life. Geppetto, he could have done the other way, which is not send Emma by herself, but basically he trusted. He sent his son because he cared.
He sent a 7-year-old boy.
He sent a 7-year-old boy to take care of him.
It's all Geppetto's fault.
But once again, Geppetto was a nice person too, and Jiminy Cricket kind of ruined his life in a way too. So it's like we get the idea that it's very much a domino effect. When somebody makes a choice, it really is affecting somebody else. So. And same thing, Emma's got her own issues.
And there's a very big thread of selfishness running through a lot of these characters. And it's because they're all in parallel stories that are about them. It's always been about me.
well, there's a moral to the story, and that's kind of what they're constantly replying, is that the moral is you've got to make the right choice. And all of them have made some kind of wrong choice. Really, I mean, there's a reason Grumpy's name changed from Dreamy to Grumpy. He didn't really make the right choice either. He thought he was making the right choice, but that's why his acts changed. Yes.
Something you guys said a few minutes ago, heard a question for the panel. Emma's, I can tell when people are lying.
Superpower.
I think that's more in her head than actual.
Well, but it went faulty when she got destroyed.
Yeah, I
So-
think that kind of totally, like many things, it just didn't work as well when she got the story broken up.
Do you think that might change with the magic coming back?
Yeah, well, maybe.
Well, it only ever, yeah, it only ever really didn't work on Cindy, but he's a mirror, so like maybe that's why. And he was a genius.
There is also the issue that like a lot of the characters' strongest qualities when the spell was cast, you know, they kind of lost those two and are now just rediscovering them. So, you know, you could kind of say that was Emma's strength. You know, that's kind of what happened to her.
I'm hoping for a really, really awesome Emma Swan in season 2. Now that magic is back, now that she knows who she is.
She
now that
slayed the dragon. How much awesome can she
Well,
be?
I totally agree. She slayed the most awesome villain in the history of time. So, but
She killed Angelina Jolie.
I know a lot of people were really frustrated with Emma for most of season 1 because it was like, why won't she believe?
Why do
won't
you
she
believe in
Why
curse?
do you not believe? So I think once she hit the finale and things changed, I think because she's now accepted in episode 20, she's like, I don't want this. This is crap. I'm not ready for this. And then 2 episodes later, she's slaying dragons and working with the evil queen to questify magic. So there's your true love at work. Right.
Yeah.
Because Henry should say, you've been waiting a long time.
Okay, yeah, I was just like about the Emma thing. The writer said that her superpower depends on her queen of the first. Yeah. And,
It is a hunch. So.
Yeah.
She had writer's block.
Regarding people's frustration with Emma, I actually thought that Emma's refusal to believe made sense for her character. Because if she believed, then she would have to accept that she is something more than just a Baelfire woman basically. And that she has a responsibility to these people, and that was something that she was not prepared to do. So she denied all of the evidence to the contrary, because psychologically she was not ready to handle this idea that she is the hero in this story.
Well, if somebody came up to you and said, you're the daughter of Snow White and Prince Charming, would you believe it? Especially a child. Right.
By the way, something else that should be pointed out, Charming's that way too. He refused to accept, oh, I can't slay this dragon. I mean, it's kind of a nature of it, like she's inherited some of the same problems that both her parents had too. Right. That they had these kind of stubborn qualities that, I would say seems to be naturally in her as well.
And it's also, part of the hero's journey. There's a step in the hero's journey called the refusal of the call. And that's what I saw in Emma in that scene with August of the Forest, that she was refusing the call.
You could hear it and then in the back.
How could Regina create a living story when she had those gowns? I mean, I miss a whole
And then do the blue fairy with Well, because she was fairy tale fabulous, and then she came here and she was our world fabulous.
By the way, something else, because I was thinking about this in the pilot when Regina walks in at the wedding, everyone turns their head away from her as if they're afraid she's going to put a spell on them. I think that's something about the end of this last episode of the season is there's a whole another story. We don't know how they would have defeated her reign. So we're going to find out more in this next season in the flashbacks of how Snow White and Charming defeated her, power.
Yeah.
She's still technically, at this point in the story, from their perspective, she's still pretty powerful.
Right, and let's not forget that somehow they also took over King George's kingdom, so he could be an ally of hers in the second season.